think a lot of ways I am really sensitive to different realms. I sound like such a hippie, but it's true.
I can't erase the way I felt though. And
Yeah,
I didn't feel afraid or anything, but I knew it was something. I knew it was something.
I tend to be superstitious and have always really believed in this is not the only dimension, this is not everything that there is.
You know, we all have experiences where we think we're alone in a room, and out of the corner of our eye, we see
or something.
something move.
Yeah.
I think some people are more in tune with their bodies, like being a yoga instructor and always being into that. I think you can get taken over by experiences in the Atlas. Like you'll feel a rush of cold, or you might have a nosebleed, or certain physical aspects that your body is telling you something is not quite the same here. I would have a lot of contact with the prostitute.
Okay.
And that's because I think in a lot of ways I was really curious about her, and I was really into, I would wear my pendulum around my neck, and we would go up, or we would do like the Ouija board in the room. There were a few times where we'd get a group of people doing the Ouija board that inside the room, inside that prostitute's room on the 3rd floor, where doing the Ouija board or having our eyes closed, we would feel someone walk like directly behind us as we were sitting in a circle, and that would break our concentration. And we'd open our eyes, and no one would be there. But I was downstairs preparing because we had to get our makeup ready and everything before the show. And when I went to go up the stairs to get to the 3rd floor, my friend Trevor was coming down the stairs, and his face was completely and totally pale. Like all the coloring has lost his face. So instead of going all the way up the stairs and going to my position, I said, well, what's up? Are you okay? And he would not talk to me. He actually didn't tell me his side of the story until maybe about 6 or 7 months later. And his side of the story was he was up in on the 3rd floor in the prostitute's room, from what I remember, and looking for the necklace, I think that the bead necklace, which I was wearing. He felt like someone was behind him, and when he turned around, he saw that it was me. He said, but there was something different about it. It was me, but it was not me. There was a very strong vibe of evil or unrest, and that I didn't seem like myself. So he kind of blew it off and said, oh, Christina, stop trying to scare the shit out of me. I'm just putting something away. And turned around, and I wasn't there. Well, the reason why I think that story bothered him so was because when I came downstairs, there was no way I could have run from the 3rd floor of the Atlas all the way downstairs from the dressing room and finish doing my makeup.
Right.
That was impossible.
You mean up here? I walked up the stairs. You alright?
One haunted Atlas, my friend Alyssa and I had to be on the 3rd floor, and I would be choking her and pushing her outside the window. And the 3rd floor is really unstable, you know, so no one else was up there.
Exactly.
But one of the guys, the security guys, would like come around on odd times and shine his flashlight through the rooms and come in and look at us and give us this creepiest look. Now, I felt really uneasy. If we took a break to go get soda, you know, in between, and we'd go downstairs, Alyssa and I would be like, why are you doing that? Why are you scaring us so much? Like, don't come by and shine this flashlight in our face, or just, why, there's no need, we're fine, don't go up there and just go through all the rooms. And he adamantly denied. He said, I haven't been up there. I've been dealing with stuff down here. Why would a security guard go upstairs when there's just 2 actors up there? No one would purposely do this for 2 high school aged girls, right, to be just such a jerk and scare them beyond belief. But one of the times, one of the security guards came into the room wearing complete black.
What are you doing?
Like over the head, over everything. It was just like a black, stop it, form. Now, during the whole thing, during the show, it's dark anyhow.
Yeah.
So when you see something that's so black that you can tell it's something, it's solid, but it came towards us, through the room. We're just cowering kind of in the center, or by the window. But I just remember holding Alyssa and both of us screaming, which I'm sure the tours really liked because it sounded real, and just kind of caroling. And that was terrifying. And I never found out who it was or if it was necessarily someone dressed up all in black, but no one ever said anything, and both of us were in tears. I remember the end of that night.
You never heard a spirit recorder?
No.
All we do is push the record button and leave it in the room. Then we come back and check it later and see if we caught anything.
I do have a tape somewhere in my place of a spirit recording that I did.
An EVP.
Mm-hmm. And with that, when I went to tape it, to make myself clear on how the spirit recording usually works, is you push record on a tape and you wait for,
leave us a message,
however long. You'd ask a question. Today's date is so and so and so. We're here for reasons of curiosity and caring. We're not here to disrespect anything. And then I would ask a question like, what year is it for you? And then give a lot of time, normally at least twice as long as what people usually take to answer questions. That tape itself, the night I finished taping it, I went downstairs while I was still in the Atlas in the lobby, and it would not work. Tape player, the tape wouldn't work, it looked fine. I figured it was just a, fluke, and then months down the road it seemed to work fine. But on the tape, if you listen to it, you never hear my voice. It's a barrage of many different voices, I think. Sometimes going at the same time. So if you play with different speeds, you get different things. But there was one other tape that I made, and for that one, I didn't want any real connection with it, with asking any questions or wanting. I just pushed record, put it in a little tiny closet, and shut the door. And on that one you can hear, I don't think that one's on the same tape, but on that one you can hear, it sounds like a child is crying. The strongest part for me, and the most easy to understand word that's said in that tape, is it sounds like there's a struggle. It almost sounds like there's some sort of electrocution or some sort of shovel or sharp thing hitting someone, and then it's calm for just a second, and then you hear the words extermination.
Extermination of...
Extermination of the wicked. And can't you guys see a preacher up on his podium saying, extermination of the wicked?
I do remember, and this is important when it comes to that tape, my first question was, what year is it? And there's a voice on the slowest speed that says 1876, what's your point? Now, you don't get my question. You just get all these different sounds. So, you know, it's like decoding a major puzzle.
Yeah, and there was one thing that sounded like a male voice saying, "You hurt me, you bitch."
Oh yeah, you hurt me. Yeah, there was that part too. And I always kind of assumed that was the John, the one that ended up killing the prostitute in the room. And yeah, it goes on for a few minutes, but it seems like such a long time because depending on how you play the tape, you know, you make it longer or shorter, which is not a rarity when it comes to spirit recordings.
Sure.
That one, I found those beads, and they're just old beads in the room, and I decided to wear them, and that first night that I wore them, I was in the maze. There's not a tour group going through, and in the maze you have to remember that it's completely pitch black. So my eyes are accustomed to seeing kind of in the dark. But it was after the tour group had left, and I turned around to go to one of the corners so I could scare the next group. And someone tapped my shoulder, and when I turned around, she just calmly said, "Put 'em back, bitch." That's all she said. I didn't. I actually felt more comfortable wearing them than not. And maybe it was just habit for me. But that was like the one time. But they tended to be almost kind of like a, I don't want to say like a crucifix for me, but something I just associated with the Atlas and felt comfortable with. And I would never wear the beads out of the Atlas, and I'd forgotten that I was wearing them. When I went to walk down those big flight of stairs from the 3rd floor going into the lobby, I felt a complete rush of cold air, where that's not usually the case there at all. So I went to my car, felt uneasy the whole time, completely dead. Turn it over, nothing. Then started to just get creeped out. I was with my friend Trevor, and he's like, "Well, you're wearing the beads." So it scared me. I went back, put the beads back to their place, went back to my car. I felt completely calm, no cold rush of air. And then my car started completely like fine, because there was nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with the car. I had told her that we were at Shine Frontier Days, and I saw a man look at me, but he looked completely through me. Like he knew something. I don't know. It was just I had very bad vibes, very bad energy. And I told her that it completely scared me. She was really open to whatever passed from that man, and started to act weird herself. She, at one point, we were going in my car and I'm driving, started calling me really filthy names like I've never even heard her say, and would not dare repeat. Her voice changed octaves, so it wasn't that she was like, she had a teenage girl voice. It was like a voice of a very deep, strong, husky man. A man voice. It got to the point where I was driving while this was going on, and I slapped her across the face because I was terrified, and I felt like I was in the presence of evil, and there was no explaining it. There was no way for me to be like, okay, you know, I already explained to her, stop doing this. You know, this isn't funny.
Yeah.
Maybe you think this is a joke, but it's not a joke. Can't you tell? You know, I'm really crying here. And she just would not stop. I mean, we had stopped at the park. She just said horrible, horrible things. And neither of us did drugs or drank alcohol. So it's not like we were affected by anything like that.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like we were under the influence of ecstasy or...
Right, the other chemicals.
Yeah, or mushrooms or anything. So, because I've never been into that. But, yeah, it was very unnerving to see someone that you love and that you know so well change completely and disregard not only your feelings but your safety.
Yeah.
When we were in that middle section of the Atlas,
Just the courtyard?
the courtyard,
Okay.
Alyssa was playing my twin in a mirror, so we would be mimicking each other. I would often not only just feel open and vulnerable, like not in a close space, like too much was around me,
Right.
which is strange because it's a nice open space, so I should feel nice and safe and secure.
Not as claustrophobic, you would think.
Right.
But, yeah.
But I'd often hear humming, and I thought, oh, well, someone's humming, but it wasn't in the second floor. I would hear it from above me. And I would also see a woman in a white, the end of her white dress, walking. I've also heard a little boy laughing on that third floor. And that was kind of the same crying that I heard on that tape in the closet.
Okay.
Crying of a child. And faint, almost to where you're like, you have to ask yourself, wait a minute, did you hear that too, or am I, wait, okay, you heard it too.
Yeah.
All right, then we're on the same page.
Well, I'm probably not one that has ever believed in the supernatural. I've always loved the idea of it, but really, really believe in it? I guess I never have until I had this experience. I was in 1940s radio hour, and they were doing it here at the Atlas. And after we had done one of our performances, we all were gathering in the lobby, deciding where to go, you know, eating afterwards so we could talk about what was good and what wasn't good. And I forgot my fanny pack. So I ran back. I said, I'll be back in just a second. I need to, and we still had the detector. I can't even remember who did it, but there was somebody here that was going to close the doors, turn off the lights and everything else. So the back doors to the theater were still wide open on both sides. As I was going down the stairs into the dressing room, I saw this figure. I looked up, because it caught my eye, I looked up, and to me, I mean, I did not think supernatural, I just thought it was a person. And we had had a whole rash of transients sleeping in upstairs. So that was my immediate thought. I thought, oh, I caught one. I caught someone that was sleeping up there. And it was a girl. She turned to look at me and headed out the back door, opposite of the stairs on the other side. And I went, oh, I'm gonna see who that is. So I immediately, I mean, the stairs are, I mean, I just had to turn around, and I was right out the door. There was nothing there. Nothing. And it felt so real. It felt like there was a real person. I didn't think it was, but I couldn't conjure up clothes. I couldn't conjure up, I just knew it was a girl's face turning to look at me, and it was white. And it went out. And so I just, that's when I got the goosebumps. I mean, I thought when I first saw her that she had a white blanket over her because she'd been sleeping upstairs. But it was too filmy. but it was dark. It was totally dark back there, back behind the stage. There was still some light in front of the stage. So that was kind of throwing me, but it didn't matter because I was going to see her by just turning out and going out in the alley.
Right.
There wasn't anyone. And she smiled. She smiled at me. So it wasn't, an evil smile, or it was just a smile like, hi, see you around.
Cool.
So I really seriously thought I would see a person. And that just threw me. That just threw me when there was nothing in the alley. Nothing.
Yeah.
Well, and even when we were doing the haunted house and we were in that room of ours.
Plastic room. Yeah, I remember that. I do.
And we would, in between the crowds coming through, we had to be real quiet. So the noises, and we could look up from the whole of the room, from the ceiling, the cracked glass, onto the next floor.
Oh, yeah.
And we could have sworn there was a movement. And we didn't have any at that time. We weren't taking them up the second set of stairs.
Right.
We were just keeping them on that second floor. But I could have sworn I saw something.
One I remember vividly, and I'm not sure what year it was, and Jerry reminded me it was the voodoo cult room, and so we had all these cult-like symbols around, and there was, I think, some people hiding in the closet. And when the audience would come through, there was this box in the middle of the floor with a Ouija board over it, and unbeknownst to the crowd, I was in the box under the Ouija board, and the cult members would come out of the closet and say some creepy, scary things and move the Ouija board around, and then there would be a noise and a flash of light that would come out of the closet, and I was supposed to spring up. And I think we were in the third night, and everything went really good, and it was getting to be late night, early morning, and at the time that I was supposed to jump out of the box, I was froze because I felt something come in the box with me. It was like the shadow that overwhelmed me, and I couldn't move, and it kind of scared some of the other members, so they got me out of the box, and I had no sense of what I was supposed to be doing, what we were doing, and I was scared as hell, if I can say that. So I kind of was freaked out and didn't want to do it again, and then I got kind of brave and I was like, well, screw this. So I got back under the box and I'm like, okay, I'm just freaking myself out. But being curious in the paranormal, I was kind of young and adventurous, and I'm like, if there's something here, let me know. And don't, make it an obvious sign. So I got back in the box, and I was no sooner enveloped in the box that the shadow was in there with me, and I like threw the box off, and I'm like, I'm done. Well, at the same time that happened, a window crashed 2 rooms over and scared the girl over there, and nobody knows why the window crashed. So I was kind of like, okay, I understand, no more questions. So that was the last time I attempted anything in this room. So anytime we've tried to put a little kid in that closet, no matter how brave they were, how old they were, if a little kid tries to stay in the pantry by themselves, they get freaked out. We've had little girls pee their pants.
Yeah, I remember.
We've had little boys get sick. I mean, it's just, and I don't know why it's just with the younger kids, except kids tend to be a lot more receptive of negative energy.
In tune with, with anything like that. Yep.
Yeah. If you've ever been in this area closer to the tech booth, in the middle of the night, without people there, you distinctly hear children. Walking like in front of you. You get the impression that they're running around in front of you, but distinctly that somebody's crying behind you, and it's kind of creepy. Like I said, I have a hard time adjusting light to dark. So when we'd have to run between groups to go down into the green room and go to the restroom, and I'd come flying through here, I was always terrified that I would run into something or somebody. And the something wasn't as bad as somebody because I knew I'd hurt somebody.
Sure.
But I don't know if any of the other girls ever said this, but if you place a female in a white dress and she has to go running through the tech booth and down, what is that, the audience right there. In the balcony.
Right.
You get the strange sensation that you're being chased and you're going to go over the edge. And so if I ever wore a white dress or a dress, long dress of any kind, I just wouldn't go. anywhere because I was afraid of going over the edge. And I thought it was just because I was clumsy, but one of my friends who was up here, and she was kind of a, I don't want to say manly girl, but she was, she said she had noticed a lot of people had the same reaction. So, and nobody really said anything because we didn't want to freak each other out. So I'm sure I could go on and on, but a lot of the things that I noticed mostly was when we were breaking down at the end of the night, when people were tired and everybody was already downstairs. If you kind of came upstairs either to poke around or you forgot something, you had the eerie sensation, like if you ever go into where animals have been and they leave because you're there and then you catch them off guard as they're coming back. That's the sensation you got. Not so much on this floor, but if you step foot on the third floor, it's like they all stay back in this back corner. And you can tell when they're like, okay, we've had enough of you. You've got to go now, because you start getting really eerie feelings. And, you know, I always thought I was pretty brave and didn't really fall for a lot of the, woo, run scared. But there are times you get these sensations that you just can't ignore. And it was mostly when they were done, when they were tired. And also, the presence of a man is really strong in that room. They used to keep costumes up there, a lot of the Civil War costumes, and I'd have to go up there to get something. And you didn't want to be in that room with all those costumes because you have an uneasy feeling that somebody was wearing one of them and just kind of mixed in between.
Yeah, I know.
Even in the daylight. Using the Ouija board didn't bother me. I'm not a claustrophobic person, so these small spaces didn't bother me. But as I said, in this top corner up here, there's a closet where you can actually go through the closet, and there's a little passage into the next closet, into the next room that you can go through. And if somebody shuts the door behind you and somebody shuts the door in front of you, you feel, and I don't know how to describe this other than suspended. You can't tell if you're supposed to go forward or backwards, and you feel utterly confused. I'm not claustrophobic, so that's the only place I've ever felt that.
Yeah.
I can tell you, my sister and I are kind of both really sensitive, have been all our life, and when we would use the Ouija board together, a lot of strange things would happen. We'd hear noises. One time, my sister quit using the Ouija board and left me alone on it. So somebody else jumped in really fast. And basically what it said was she being my sister, needed to beware because she opened something she shouldn't open. And she needed to be careful of the big stairs. We're like, okay, whatever. And so we had a lock-in that night, I believe, and we were up on the third floor. My sister, somebody tried to scare us, and so we all come running down the stairs, and my sister actually tripped and started falling down the stairs, but she was still so scared that she ran on her knees all the way down the big stairs and around the corner. And at first we're just like, ha ha, but then we got to thinking about it, and that could have been really severe if she had not caught herself.
No kidding.
So after that, I was very cautious of the two of us on a Ouija board together, and whatever it said, we kind of heeded. So we had the chandelier swing. We had everybody downstairs and accounted for. There was no wind outside, and we had some people check the perimeter. Unless a bum had gone in and walked on this floor, there would have been no reason for. But when we started the Ouija board and we asked if someone was present, the chandeliers downstairs started swinging in rotation like somebody was walking across the floor and then back and then back. And so we sent somebody upstairs to check, and as soon as somebody hit this landing, it stopped.
I could just be driving past the Atlas, and I could be with someone or I could be by myself, and I could swear that I see a silhouette of someone on that third floor. It's not a mannequin dressed up or anything. I mean, it's a person moving. Person or entity or
Energy,
something.
Yeah.
there. So
You know, at the time I started, I mean, it was so welcoming, even though from day one I always got a feeling, you know, that this was a special place. I didn't know why, because I was so busy when I started. I was just so young and, you know, doing so much. I had so much in my life, boom, 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 going from one event. I didn't stop to take account of all those feelings and emotions I had when I was here. But I always remember them. I always remember having some feelings.
I think Atlas is still like a mystery for me on knowing what happened there.
Yeah.
A lot of the stories that I know, at least I have experience-wise with the Atlas, is that it's not just a solitary experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know, it's not like just one person is really into the Ouija board, or, you know, it's more of a group experience, which makes it a lot
Getting
more
people to back up
legit.
the experience. Yeah.